Hi, welcome to my video podcast about my knitting. This is Ingen, and this is where I usually talk about the things that I've been knitting and things maybe that I want to be knitting, or books or knitting podcasts that I enjoy. So it's been a while since last time, just for no reason really. I just keep feeling that something's almost finished, and I have so many projects at once, and then I just don't get around to maybe blocking or taking pictures or just getting them ready. But finally now I'm ready today to show some things that I've been wanting to show you for a while. I don't think I mentioned, maybe I did. I don't think I mentioned last time that I had started knitting a new sweater for my husband, Ketil. And it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing in the beginning of December, where I just saw this Majestic mountain sweater and by Stephen West, and I really wanted to make it because it looked like such a fun and it was a different kind of sweater construction where you're entertained throughout. There's even something going on. You start actually with the neck, and then you make these shoulder wedges, which was easy and fun, and I think it just really goes well with my main person to have these kind of general like shoulder things, which I'm not sure that I could pull off myself, even though I did think at times that maybe I want this sweater, or maybe I'll make another one for myself, because it was such a fun knit. And there are so many different opportunities that you can change it. I mean, I could make them a bit more subtle, have them in just the same color maybe. I had some cashmere that I put in the around here, and just on the bottom and on the sleeves. One of my favorite things about it, apart from everything, I just really liked this whole new take on stranded knitting here. But I also really liked the way that this part here, it's a bit hard to show, but it kept it entertaining to knit down the rest of the sweater when there are these wave patterns here, and you keep marling also. So just put in a lot of different stuff, like this orangey. This was a really expensive Angora hand dyed with Kool-Aid, and the color wasn't really working for anything else, but kind of worked here on the belly of this sweater. So here it is, and I'm so happy with it. It's one of the best things I've ever made. It didn't take too long either. Most of it is in kind of my go-to, I guess, for basic yarn is right now is Svarta Fåret soft llama or soft llama fine. This is 2 strands of soft llama fine, because you're supposed to hold double fingering. And then in the beginning of December I did get an advent calendar with this color, kind of. I also put in some cashmere, some orange cashmere in there, and I just love the way these mountains can also kind of look like fires. And tried to keep the fire theme going like this, and he loves it, and he is so knit worthy. He really treasures it. The other sweater that I knit for him is all white, so it's getting a bit dingy, and it was in drops alpaca, and I don't think I've shown it before, but it's right there. Let me go get it. This was one of the first things I started knitting when I started knitting sweaters again, and it was before I discovered Ravelry and top-down knitting, so I was just still really motivated to make him a sweater. He really wanted a white sweater. So I found this pattern that was free on one of the Norwegian local yarn brands. I think House of Yarn had a free pattern. And I don't remember what it was called, but it's just kind of simple, basic, just, I don't remember, it's moss stitch, sort of a moss stitch, and he's just been wearing it out. I even mended it on the elbow. Oh, the light isn't really falling very well, but he loves it. He's been wearing it out. I think that it's beginning to look a bit too stained and dingy and ragged, but he just keeps wearing it. So I figured I'd have to make him a better one to get him to maybe put this in the wash sometimes, since it's white. So, but here I had to sew on the sleeves, so I wasn't too happy with that. It was bottom up. It was the last time, I think. I did bottom up for a long time until Lærke Bagger's book came and I tried it again. So yeah, I like that he has it. Sorry, I like that he has a Stephen West that he wears to work, and that's custom made for him and really fits him. And so the next finished object is this Basset Hat by Creadia. It probably is the most expensive hat on the planet, because I figured there was this new yarn called thick mohair by the local indie dyer Unica, and it's just luscious and thick, and it has a bit of merino, so I'd been afraid to try it when I was not using sheep wool, but then I decided, even though it's pricey, this took 2 skeins and then some double mohair for the edges, and also some merino, some hand-dyed merino for held double with the thick mohair. So yeah, you can imagine it's an up there. It's a high-end hat, but I'm happy with it. It's really warm. You're supposed to figure out some kind of, maybe a couple of laces here or a button, and I was waiting to find the right button, and I just kind of remembered that I had this from when I was a little girl and used to wear Scottish quilts in the 80s. I don't remember it, but I know it because there was a picture, so I figured I can just use that for it. I haven't washed it yet, but oh well. Can't put off making an episode any longer just for that. It's really warm. It's really comfortable. The designer is called Creadia Studio, and she said that at some point, I think she wrote on Instagram that this was her protest against the balaclava because she had too much hair, which I can identify with. Ended up giving my balaclava to Kjetil, who gets cold on his head a lot, and this has more room for you can do more with your hair in this one. It's a bit hard to maybe get it straight right here, but I think it's good enough. The yarn is so expensive that doesn't matter. So that's the Basset Hat, and it's all just local indie dyer colorways. One is called Sandine, one is called Cappuccino, and not sure. Yeah, the merino is called Havbund. Just amazing, luscious yarn, and I had no allergy. So that was my first merino experiment, figuring out that maybe merino is so washed free of lanolin or something. Maybe it has a different kind of lanolin, I don't know, but it seems that it's safer for me than the other sheep wool. But I've been experimenting. Ever since I started dyeing myself, I dug out some of the yarn that I had from before I knew I was allergic to, or what I was allergic to, and some yarn that I had just bought to experiment with, and started dyeing it, because I can dye yarn. I can dye wool if I want. I just scour it, which is when you boil it almost boil it. You just raise the temperature very gently, and then you can really clean off some of the lanolin. But I think that the Peruvian Highland wool, it's a bit too, that's where there's the most lanolin, and I can't really get it out of that. So I'm still putting off trying to knit with the Peruvian that I've dyed and bought. But I do have some because, yeah, it was pretty tempting when I noticed that I could kind of control a bit more of the lanolin content, and make sure that there was no spinning or anything like that. When you just really clean it yourself and maybe even dye it and then clean it some more, then you feel a bit safer to try it, and not that you're risking your health for the whole day or the whole week, which tends to get, if I think that's going to happen, then I don't experiment much. So I have been experimenting a bit more, and I do notice that I bought some svensk ull by Järbo, which was very high in lanolin, and I dyed it, but I haven't tried. I've also like wound it, but knitting it, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be doing. But I think maybe when I go outside to knit, when it gets a bit warmer, then I can experiment a bit more again. So some of them I've just put off for that, because I did notice that there's this Swedish video podcast called Mamma's Garnrum, and they have some allergic issues that sound a lot like mine, and they do end up knitting a lot in llama and as well, and they said that they knit outside sometimes with the yarn that they react to. So I'm excited to try that too. And thank you for the tip, Mamma's Garnrum. I really like your podcast too. It's always good. Another good podcast where I got a good tip was where, let's see, Et varv til med Knitannknit and Virkfröken, one other of my favorites that just always brings a lot of joy to watch. Ann in the podcast, who goes by Knitannknit on Instagram, she also reacts to some yarn and to the spinning oil. So she said actually that she could use Shetland wool, and that was a big moment for me, because I had never thought that was worth even trying. So I've ordered one small white ball of that, and I'm gonna try it outside when it gets warmer, and I'm pretty excited, because if I can use Shetland wool, that opens up a whole new world, and it's a whole different experience, I imagine, to knit with wool that's so much more curly and sturdy. I would be using a lot more rustic wool if my health allowed it. So anyway, that was the hat, and another big project that started in December, which was my Christmas cast on, and one of my favorite projects ever, the Marled Magic Shawl by Stephen West. And this one I decided to just use as a comfort knitting through December and January, and it didn't finish. It became so much of an obsession that it was before I started dyeing, but that's when it kind of was what led me to start dyeing, because that's when I started to get some pain in some fingers and shoulders. So then I put it away for a bit, because it's like needle 5, and that can get a bit big for my body. But now when I finished it, I had no problems. So it's just a matter of not doing it like more than 10 hours a day, you know. But you get so addicted to marling, to adding new colors and experimenting with what they're going to look like next to each other. And I just wanted it to be enjoyable to knit, and to not think about whether it was something I would wear or not. But then it ended up being absolutely wearable, I think. Maybe I'm just a bit biased, but I just like it. I like wearing it. I haven't worn it outside yet. I'm not sure I want to wear it outside, but loungewear is what we wear these days, especially now until it gets warmer outside. And then it might still be a bit cold sometimes in the evenings, so I still haven't figured out exactly how to wear it, but I can tell that there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of mohair, so the temptation when I was not thinking about how I was going to wear it, I ended up using more mohair because it's so fun when you're marling. So yeah, like this you can wear it. Yep, and also what am I wearing? I'm wearing the twisted sweater that I have been working on for more than 2 years, and that kept just getting put to the side because I got tired of the color. And yeah, I'm gonna get hot if I keep this on. So I started this twisted sweater so many times because at first I wanted to have some mohair or some, I was still doing brushed alpaca by drops at that time, so I bought quite a bit of that in the color, and I started top down and made this neck like 3 or 4 times because it was so hard to get into the, I mean, it wasn't that it was too hard to get in at the right place here to the raglan and everything at once. It was more that I just kept forgetting something. There was so much going on all the time. And at this time, I wasn't that experienced either. I had just been knitting petite knit mostly. So this was years ago when I started it. And then once I got divided for sleeves, it was obviously just to keep knitting. It was comfortable to knit on needle 4.5. And the yarn is really nice. It's out of the market. It's called Baby Llama by Sannes Garn. And I just got so tired of this color. It was just because it was so cheap on sale that I bought it. Because at that time, I was still buying very cheap yarn, just trying to keep the cost down as much as possible. I hadn't adjusted to the fact that maybe if I spent a bit more on the yarn, it would make the whole experience so much better. So I was still just thinking that I can make the most of this, whatever is the cheapest. And here it was a really good deal because it was going out of the market. It's actually the same yarn as I also bought a sweater quantity in navy of this yarn, thinking, well, maybe that's too dark to ever knit in, but I knit in dark yarns all the time now. I just keep a good light on and it's no problem. So I ended up using the navy quantity for the No Limit sweater. And it's really heavy like I thought it would be, but that's okay. What I didn't really think would happen though is that it became a bit more like oversized around the shoulders than I expected. So the fit is not as flattering as the Ombre t-shirt, which I guess is because that one is just in a lot of mohair and it kind of has a better drape. This is the thick worsted llama and then 2 strands of mohair and then 1 strand of tied together scrap yarn. But the color, of course, is improved since I did make the same colors kind of as in the Ombre, but just in an improved version. So you keep learning. When you're marling, you keep learning what colors you like together, which is why it's so addictive, I think, and so fascinating. But yeah, this was another negative experience of a bottom-up pattern, I guess. But I mean, it's not that negative, but it would have been better had it been top-down, because then I would have known that it would be so wide. I can't have like too much fabric around this area because there's already so much body around this area. So it needs to be flattering around this area for me, and this one turned out not as flattering, even though I think I did it right, because I made it top down even though it was supposed to be bottom up, and I did all the math to kind of figure out how. So I think, I mean, it came together But you never know when you've done the math yourself. You never know if it was just me who did the math wrong, and maybe it would have been less big on top heavy if it had already been a top down pattern. But if it had been I mean, if I'd done it from the bottom up, it would still have been top heavy. It was a bit hard to know. But I like the way I do like the way that there's a lot of stuff going on here, so it gets like really pear-shaped, and it's nicely around the bottom part, and it's just super outerwear, just super warm. So then I have something super warm too. That's nice. I think it's nice enough to wear outside when I go out with the dog, so I'm happy with it. Happy enough. Probably in hindsight I would have just done one strand of mohair, not two. And then there's my other Stephen West shawl that I showed you last time. I had only just started it. I had started it in this silk camel blend from an indie dyer called Lille Rille, I think, called Mot Østen, the base, and I just wasn't liking how it was. I had this main color gray that was just not matching with anything, and there were supposed to be stripes, so I just started over with a different base, and it was much better because I had a lot of minis in this. This Albi Rayo by Vegan Yarns, so it's actually a vegan shawl now. It's completely in the same base, because when I was making stripes, mixing the qualities was just getting a bit hard. It's hard enough to get the stripes to not look too bad. So I started, in the beginning I was really sure about the yellow. Even if it's turmeric, I dyed it with turmeric so that it's kind of fading, but I kind of wanted it a light yellow, so it's kind of interesting to see it fade. And if it ends up just being white, that's okay, because it's not going to clash. And then what else? I haven't really dyed any other of these myself. I think they're all just minis from Vegan Yarn. They have really nice mini kits, and this yarn is 50% cotton, 50% bamboo, and it just makes really nice drape. It was really comfortable to knit, and on allergic days it's nice to have something completely vegan to knit, because you know it's not gonna shed as much. And the correction for the last episode, if you just watched it, I said that the Manos de Uruguay Cabrito was bleeding. I meant shedding. That's been kind of bugging me for a while, because I don't like it when the mohair sheds. But it is hand-dyed, the Cabrito, and I do like the colors. I just think it might be a bit older style mohair that would shed more. So here it is. It was such a good knit, I didn't want it to end. And then I just felt like so hungry to cast on another one, and I still am. I just haven't decided what yarn I have that's gonna work for so many stripes. Even this one is, I mean, yeah. I wear it mostly in the house, but then I'm in the house most of the time knitting anyway, so that's okay. Yeah, well, doing this when I'm filming isn't so easy, so it's okay. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to talk about that was finished. Probably did some other things too, some socks and stuff, but I wasn't too happy with them anyway. And let me take a small break so it's easier to break it up a bit. So I forgot to say that I'm wearing my Talbot mitts. I thought that they looked quite good with the sweater, and the design is by Alex I don't remember, but you can check it on my previous episodes. I think that they were cast on more after when I was working on the sweater a lot. So they do, I think that they do match it pretty well. They're in the Rosamund style of knitting. Alex Bird is the name of the designer. Talval knits. So I've been working a bit on my my leggings, my Stephen West Marled Mania leggings, and I had to do them over several times because it's hard to fit something around all your legs and butt. So I changed the yarn because it was too big. The one I showed you last time was still too big, so I just did it over with the gray Mot Östen camel silk blend that I wasn't using for my cozy corner shawl. And here's one leg that's finished until, yes, I'm just gonna do the cuff last, and I just put it on one of these, and I'm going to do the cuff when I finish the other leg. So this is what it's gonna look like. You're supposed to have this side out. I like it, and the other leg is not that far. So yeah, it's a bit hard to see what it's gonna look like when I don't put it on, but I think I finally found a way to decrease in a way for the legs that will fit my legs, which was something you had to kind of figure out yourself in this pattern. But then the good part about that is once I've figured it out for one pair, maybe it's going to be easier to do another pair, because I have faith in this project, and I was hoping to finish the knit leggings before the weather got too warm because it's probably gonna be a bit warm to wear them in the summer. I still haven't given up on that. It's just that there's so many other things I want to knit. So it needs daylight because you do marl, and the yarn is yes, it's held together with the Mot Östen garn, that's camel silk, is held together with another yarn from Vegan Yarn that I really like, that I've talked about before, and it's Pleiades. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Pleiades. But it's not hard to find if you look for Vegan Yarn. And I dyed most of this myself, actually. And the blue, some is acid dyed, some is dyed with turmeric, some is dyed with other plant dyes. After I haven't been dyeing as much lately because I just ran out of yarn to dye. I kept dyeing everything over and over and over and over. So I realized that I do need a project where I need a lot of different browns, because if they don't come out nice, I end up making brown yarn of all kinds of different shades. So since I was so happy with this, and I realized, I saw this one episode somewhere, I think it was the episode of Amy's Knit Cafe live on YouTube. Amy from La Bien-Aimée. She talked to Stephen West's test knitters, and he had this one in Iceland who talked about how much fun it had been to make a sweater that starts like this and then you keep going to make a sweater, and I wanted to do that too. So I figured I'm gonna try it in browns, but I haven't been marling in browns so much, so I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm sure it's gonna get better. This is just the beginning. I started thinking I'm gonna keep it dark to keep it from getting too like crafty looking, but then that was not really working, so I put in some neon pink because that always helps, and then we'll see. I still don't know for sure what part of the body this is going to, so if it's dark, that's always better then. But it's exciting. So I guess it's a bit of a mystery to myself when I don't bother to read the whole pattern for the sweater. I only know the shawl and not sure. But also there's cardigans and just some other clothes. I'm really interested in Stephen West's clothes. I did try to knit the socks called Socken. Not too happy. I mean, it was fun. I made one, it was fun. It didn't sit on my foot well at all. So I'm not going to make the second one. I probably will undo the one I did make. And it was supposed to be in Lättloopy, which was an experiment. And I did get some allergy reactions. So I'm going to have to use that ball of yarn outside again in the summer, I guess, if I'm making another try at knitting with Lättloopy that I myself have scoured thoroughly and tried to get all the lanolin out of. Actually, I think, yeah, no. Let's see, another ongoing project is, hold on, let me check. Okay, I can't find them right now, but it's my building blocks, Legwarmers by Stephen West. I have been so happy with the Legwarmers that I showed you in the last episode that I made for myself for the winter. I just wear them all the time. It just really saves me a lot of sock wearing. I mean, I wear socks with them too, but it just it really helps to have the leg warmers on around the house. If I only have thin socks to wear, or thinner or shorter socks, I can wear like ankle socks with the leg warmers and not make holes in all the longer socks. So they've been so good. I wanted to make another pair of leg warmers, and Stephen West's building blocks pattern for leg warmers looked so easy, but I keep getting it wrong, and it's like so casual looking that maybe I should just keep going, but I just keep thinking that no, I just want them both to look the same, so I just keep undoing it, and I drop a stitch. And I guess I thought it would be the kind of knitting that I would do at night when I'm tired, like when I do sock knitting usually, but then it was a bit more, there was a bit more to think about, and it was just a bit easy to get to lose track of where I was in the pattern, because there's a lot happening that looks almost like I just got the segments mixed up, and I did the wrong segment at the wrong time because I didn't put down where I was. And so there, I'll probably be showing them because I will finish them, I'm sure. I also want to do the building blocks, the arm warmers, because that's gonna be good to have if I'm wearing short sleeves, and sometimes I get cold on my arms at night when I'm sleeping. So I'm thinking I'll make the building blocks stuff. And also another ongoing work in progress is the dress that I showed you last time. I did start on the dress. It's been a bit hard to find a good replacement for the Brooklyn tweed yarn that is the one that the pattern is made in. And then I actually did find the Brooklyn tweed yarn, but I haven't opened the bag yet because I think it's gonna probably make me allergic, and also it's really pricey, so if I'm gonna make a whole dress in that yarn, it better not be something that I'm reacting to. And what did happen is I started to make it in soft lama fine held together with king fiber souffle cashmere, and it looked like this, and it looks pretty good. It's a bit tweedy, which is hard for me to find yarn to make it look a bit tweedy. I don't know if you can see that, but I couldn't really find that in black. So the supposedly black part is a bit navy and gray, and I'm not sure about that because I did like the fact that it was supposed to be black. But what happened was I just couldn't wait to start, so I did this and I kept going, and then there was, I think, something in the pattern that was a bit unclear, and I asked the question in Ravelry, and the dress is by Välimäki, I think is her name. The dress is called Mare, and it's in her book Stripes, which is a new book from Lane Publishing. So it's such a big project, and it's a lot of yarn, and I want it to be nice yarn, but it's also really expensive. So once I didn't get an answer to my question in Ravelry, I lost a bit of the steam, and then weeks later I did get an answer, and it turned out that the way I read the pattern, it hadn't been right, so I'm gonna have to undo some of it anyway. But then, yes, not sure where I'm going with this, so it's kind of hibernating right now, and it's kind of too late to where I'm gonna need a really warm dress. So maybe I'll just, yeah. And also the navy souffle yarn, I ordered it, and then it turned out it was not in stock after all, and they couldn't order it for me, so I don't have enough of the navy. And but they did say that they might be getting some this summer, so if I just hibernate it for a bit, then I can start it back if they do get more of that navy souffle yarn in stock. And then in Norwegian Spirit, the amazing yarn store in Bergen, so if they do get that back in stock, I'll get some, and then I can start back, and I'll have it. Maybe I'll have it done by the fall. So also I discovered a new podcast that is not new, that I just hadn't discovered before. It's called Traktorlady, I think. Yeah. It's Danish. It's in Danish, but it's nice. I like it. She likes Steven West a lot too. So she talked about the Cowl Askews Dickey, which had kind of passed my notice before, but I've been so happy with the cowl that I made in Marled Magic Cowl, and I use it all the time after I shrunk it a lot in the dryer. So if this one turns out too wide, I'm gonna shrink it too, and it's gonna be fine. So I'm almost done with it, and it's in this project bag that is the nicest one I have. I just found it like in some stuff when it's actually one that my daughter made when she was in daycare, and it looks so great. I think the adults must have helped a bit, because I can't imagine her being able to do this line when she was that small, but it looks great, and it's perfect for a project bag. I think it's supposed to be a gym bag for school when they're about to start school. So maybe she was old enough to make those lines. But it's perfect for my colorful knitting and my Dickey. My Dickey. I started it once with the gray yarn from the previous project I showed you, the dark gray soft llama fine, but in DK instead. But that dark gray was a bit harsh against this yellow that I wanted to use, that I dyed with turmeric. But I think it's fading a bit though, but that's okay. If it's really light yellow or white, that's gonna be fine too. So I'm almost done with it, and it's a fun knit. It was so much fun, but I started to doubt myself, like I hadn't really done this sort of part right here before, so I wasn't sure with the first version if it was looking right. So I started to make the hat, which starts the same way, in a different yarn that I had dyed with. The blue is not mine. I didn't dye it. It's also soft llama, but I dyed this white yarn some with indigo. So I'm just gonna make a hat because that's all I have enough for in the one that I dyed myself. So The hat starts the same as the dress and the dicky, and you just start right here, and then you make this sort of increase decrease thing that I think might make it a little less wide when it starts, because I think it's gonna start doing this. And so I'm much happier with how this part turned out on the third try, or even the second try was much better than the first try. But it matters how you hold. When you change the yarns, it matters how you hold them. So I had to experiment with that a bit. And then last night I was doing the last rows of this one, and I was so tired, but I was almost done. I just wanted to finish it, but I was too tired to be doing brioche, and I was way too tired to be fixing brioche when I started to notice that there was a mistake. So here is where I have to do a bit of fixing, probably undo a couple rows before I can finish it, but it's almost done. And I might still need something warm around my neck. Sometimes it's still really cold outside, even if it's April 1st today. And I think that's all I have for now. Yep, that's all I had, but it's plenty, isn't it? And I wish you a really good Easter if you celebrate Easter. Good spring, good April. Don't know when I'll be back, but I'll just make another episode whenever I feel like it, just like I have been. And I really appreciate that people watch me, and I'm also probably going to a yarn festival for the first time this Sunday. I have bought a ticket for the Southwest Yarn Fest, which is in my neighborhood, and I think it's the first time they have it, and it's gonna be huge, but the tickets were sold out for the first day. So I'm going on the Sunday, and I'm still a bit worried about COVID, actually. I know nobody else is at this point, but I am. So if I don't go, that's why. But I have a ticket for the Sunday, and if you see me there and you recognize me and I don't recognize you, don't be afraid to talk to me, because I don't know anyone that's going. And I mean, I know people from podcasts that I guess I've talked to a bit on Clubhouse, but not in real life ever. So that's kind of the reason I'm making this, and it's gonna be nice if we get those numbers for COVID so far down that I feel safe going to knit nights and podcast meets and such. But for now, I don't knit with anyone, and it would have been nice. So thanks for keeping me company, talking about my knitting, and I'll see you next time.